pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. You can join me here on today's show. Guest menu looks like this. Dwayne Lewis of the UAPB Radio Network. He will join me to talk about Southern and UAPB coming up today at 6 p.m., specifically about a hot University of Arkansas Pine Bluff football team. Boy, we got a lot to talk about as far as Southern and UAPB. Following Dwayne Lewis will be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, our SWAC football report. He will join me in hour number 2. And then after Charles Edmond will be Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. So we're going to talk some Southern University football. We're going to talk some Southwestern Athletic Conference football, some Black college football, and all points in between. So stay tuned. This should be a very interesting show this week here on the Carlos Brown Show. Well, first and foremost, let's talk about Southern University. They fell to FAMU last week. Ryan Stanley, just give him the FCS Heisman. He threw for 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, as FAMU rallied late to beat Southern 27-21. Now, let me stop right there. These shows are archived, and I said last week I had some major concerns. I was concerned about this ball game. It's a rivalry that was restarted, the renewed rivalry. FAMU came out on fire. Before you knew it, it was 17-0. FAMU led by 12 at halftime, but then they trailed 21-19 late in the fourth when Stanley took the Rattlers 97 yards in 9 plays, and one of the key plays, you're backed up in your own territory, and Southern DB gets beaten on a long pass play that gets them out of that hole, and then they march down the field. Xavier Smith, just outstanding for FAMU. 201 yards receiving on 9 catches for the Rattlers. Southern University, offensively, just erratic. I'm telling you, they are erratic. Skelton finished with 114 yards and a score for the Jaguars. Jamar Washington led the Jaguars with 109 yards on 5 receptions. He raced for 54 yards for a score off an 8-yard reception from Skelton. Let's just talk now. This past week, it has been brutal if you're a Southern University fan. First and foremost, all this summer and fall camp, you talked about several things. One being, this is the most depth that Southern University has had in Coach Odom's tenure at Southern University. You talked about day one in fall camp being disciplined. 17, 18 starters back. Everybody back. One game short of winning a SWAC football championship. So expectations are high. But now, game 1 against McNeese. Up 14-7. 5 turnovers. You've heard it before. And they lose that ball game by 6 points. You kind of felt that, hey, man, wasn't those turnovers. You had an opportunity to win the ball game. Many would say Southern should have won that ball game, but they didn't. That's factual. Then you played up the next week against Memphis. Guarantee game. You know about that. That is a tough situation. But you're only down by 10 at halftime. You take the opening drive, and you go down the field and score. So you're really proud. You say, hey, second half, it is what it is. Then the next week, you play Edward Waters. I jokingly said holy water. You blow that team out, but it's also a game you put in the category. You just want to improve. And thus, you saw the passing attack struggle. You've seen inconsistency with the offense, albeit you scored 28 points in the first game. You shut out basically in the second half offensively against Memphis. Then Edward Waters. Then last week, a continuation of the passing game or the lack of it against FAMU. Started off slow. And you come away with a loss, 27-21. So you're 0-2 against FCS teams. You won against an NAIA school, and you lost against Memphis playing up. You understand that. This team, it's just my personal opinion, and I've read a lot of comments on social media. Boy, they're fighting mad. They're frustrated, disappointed. So am I. This team has underachieved so far. That's a key word, so far. They've underachieved. And the fan base has a right to be disappointed. Offense is basically one-dimensional, erratic, and kudos to teams that have started this year off saying, you know what? Last year, Skelton came on in the middle of the year, kind of caught everybody by surprise. But I tell you what, they've done their homework. They've done their homework this year. And the way they're playing against Southern's offense is the way you will see the rest of the season. And I would play defensively against Southern the same way. You know what I would do? I'm going to load the box. And I'm going to say, Skelton or whoever, McDaniel, whoever's at quarterback, you're going to have to beat me throwing the football and beat me with your decision making. And if you can do that, I'll live with it. I would live with it. So, coming into this ball game tonight, and I'm just saying that this, my opinion, it's a must win. It's the conference opener. And technically, if they were to lose the ball game, they'd be 0-1 in the conference. But overall, 1-4, and then the frustration builds even more. No, you shouldn't be on the ledge, Southern fans, and saying I'm about to jump off. No, but you should be mad as hell. You're frustrated, and you have the right to be. This is very interesting. And, you know, I know a lot of you have compared this to last season after that loss to Alcorn State, and they had an open day and they had, you know, changes in the lineup. Here comes Skelton. You go to Prairie View. I picked them to lose. Everybody had their backs was against the wall, and they came out, yes, Dr. Prince 38-0. Southern over Prairie View. But you know what? That's the scenario, and I understand that. But that was last year. This is this year. So, I expect a dogfight, but I expect Southern University to respond. And also, you get tired of having your back to the wall. And then when your back to the wall, then a fire is ignited up on your backside. Come out, do what you're supposed to do. You've got the talent. No excuses. None. No excuses. Coaching staff, you got to put them in a position to be successful. And I'm still trying to understand. Maybe someone could explain it to me. I'm no coach. I understand that. But offensively, they're just erratic. No consistency. You can go down the field against Memphis, and then you come out in other games and it's just 3 and out. But that's how I feel. I see the text messages and everything's pouring in already. Let me introduce Dr. Prince. Good morning to you, Dr. Prince.
Good morning.
You can kind of tell I'm frustrated.
Hey, man, would I call it frustrated? No, I would just say motivated. You're motivated for your team to end up in the winner's circle, and quite understandably. I understand. But you're all right this morning, though, huh?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
But I'm going to have eyes in Pine Bluff. And there are other big games in the conference as well that we'll talk about. One being Grambling State and Prairie View. By the way, Grambling State, no wins on the season.
Right. It's frustration, and I won't say quite panic just yet, because, even when you look at it from the PV vantage point, they can't afford another loss in conference play, in particular within the division. And that's what you had last week. Not last. That was a conference loss, but not a divisional loss. So you cannot afford to get these losses mounting up. So I believe everybody is kind of on the edge of their seats throughout the conference, and the expectations, as you noted. And I had some great expectations, and still have some great expectations for Prairie View. But today is going to be the line in the sand day. Hey, this is where we are. This is who we are. And you either adjust from it and try to improve, or cash it in. So it's really those your options.
Yeah, I don't want to say a day of reckoning, but from this point on, every week is crucial. You got to win the week. But for Southern University, it's important. You were picked in the West to win it. And I know that's on paper, but you have to get it done on the field. And there's as much, so far, as I said, they've underachieved. I understand you bringing in new coaches and what have you, but that happens all over college football. You bring people in, you have to plug them in.
I hear you, and I truly feel you. But as you were talking and commenting, I think that when you look at the schematics of each program up and down the conference, you have to look at the design or the blueprint of each program. Southern is a program, in my opinion, that is designed to keep things close and maintain a lead, not really come from behind. Because when I think of Southern, I think of run first, solid defense, adequate kicking game, keep me close. If I get double digits behind, it could be an uphill struggle. I see that in the case of Alcorn. I see that in the case of a Jackson State, and even to a degree of Grambling, that those are the designs of those teams. When I think of a Prairie View and maybe even here of late a Pine Bluff, these are teams that are kind of equipped to hit it quick, and no lead is too far for them to make up, but they're not going to outlast you from the defensive side. It's about scoring the points.
Well, RPO offenses.
Right.
You look at Alcorn, they don't change what they do. And by the way, hats off to Mr. Felix. Came in, redshirt junior, player of the week. You didn't see any drop-off.
So I would say you saw a little bit of
major. Let me rephrase that. Major drop-off. Hey, he did well. He managed the game, and he kept Alcorn offensively doing what they like, and they threw the ball. But when we think of Alcorn, they run the football, and they're going to run it left, right, the middle. But they have shown that they can throw the football when they need to or when they want to.
Right. Well,
so hats off to them. I still say Prairie View, offensively, very explosive team. I was going back and forth with some Alcorn people this week. And I know it's not the majority of Alcorn fans thinking this way, but this one person was like, he doesn't want to see Prairie View again. They're so explosive. But then you look, Alcorn played without some regular starters.
Some major regular starters.
Right. And they were able to still accomplish what they set out to be, 1-0 in conference play. So there's still the chance until someone can dethrone them. It's going to be an interesting race, Brother Prince, because it's still a lot of football to be played, but each week it gets closer to the end game. And that is, you want to be the regular season champs. You want to get the host and then, win the SWAC championship.
Just like Lotto, baby, you got to be in it to win it. You got to be in it to win it.
So, that's just kind of my take. If I can, here's kind of, and on social media, it was pretty rough. I'm telling you. You got to love Southern fans. They're spicy. Some may say unrealistic, but, I'm getting them in now. Yeah, here's another one. Don't want any parts of Prairie View anymore. That's from an Alcorn fan. I'm going to look at that a little closely again. He says, this does not look like a veteran team that has had the benefit of both spring and preseason practice. No consistency in any, and any is capitalized, aspect of the game. Berry's offense often lacks rhythm and has no continuity. Skelton does not look comfortable. The defense has played well in spots, seems to be passive at times. And this guy is the dean of the SWAC coaches currently. Team seems unprepared mentally to start the FAMU game. I'm hopeful for a win, but I won't be surprised at all if we get taken to the woodshed by UAPB.
Wow.
That team is hungry and playing with a chip on their shoulder. We still seem unsure of ourselves and have yet to form a team identity. If something does not change immediately, we will be out of the SWAC title chase by mid-October.
I want to inject something, Brother Brown, if I may. And I know if you ask any coach from A to Z in this conference, they would never admit this publicly. And as fans, we don't want to accept it. And I know you line up to win every game that you sign up for. But these guys, in particular, these non-conference games, they're experimenting, and they won't let you know, they won't admit to it, like I said. They're trying to see exactly what they have, so when they hit the crust of their conference play, they'll know who their ride and die players are. That's why I'm not really panicking on Prairie View's record. I'm not even panicking on Southern's record or any conference record. The only record of concern for me is Grambling. Grambling has played well enough in spurts to win, and I'm hoping this week that they don't have an epiphany and wake up with a can of you-know-what and just have Panther poo all over the stadium today. I'm hoping that comes a week later. But I really and truly, you got to look at the thing for what it is. These are money games for the most part, in these non-conference schedules. Then you have your quote-unquote cream puff tune-up game. That's your confidence builder for these guys after they didn't got their heads kicked in. So let us kick somebody else's head in so we can at least know that we're a quality team. So,
well, let's look at that then.
Mm-hmm.
FBS, it is what it is. It's a payday, guarantee game.
Right.
Throw that out, lock it up, or put it in another door and let it stay there. Put it in the vault, let it stay there.
Okay.
NAIA, Edward Waters.
That's your feel-good game.
Same category.
Right.
Lock it up and store it away.
Throw away the key on that one. Throw
yeah,
away the key on that one.
Yeah, that game, it is what it is. It can give you a false sense of security because you did what you were supposed to do.
Right.
And even in that game, if you look internally, offensively, passing the ball or passing, it was not good. But, you didn't really need to work on it. That's what some would say. I disagree with that. So now we narrow into the FCS games. Leading in the McNeese game.
Right.
Started off horrible against FAMU.
Right.
It reminded me of 1999 when it was over basically halfway of the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come back and take the lead, then to lose it at the end, basically. So when you say those two games, McNeese and FAMU, are the better games to gauge where you're at, how you're playing.
Absolutely. And when you look at those two games and you go toe-to-toe, and I did hear you talk about the 354-yard performance for FAMU, and I'm going to put this little side note in there. The guy who's now leading them as quarterback coaches couldn't even smell the quarterback room at Prairie View. They reduced him all the way down to tight ends coach, and he goes to FAMU, and all of a sudden they break out for 354 yards. Okay, whatever. Well, I move on. I digress. When you look at FAMU, you look at McNeese, two of the at least highly noted programs for success on the football field. That's your true gauge. And I look at those two games. We're playing to win. Hear me out. But I'm treating those games like the third game of your NFL preseason. Because that third game of the NFL preseason, you have your projected starters on what you want to do, where you get a true sense and a true gauge of what you really have. So when you go back and look at the film on that FAMU and that McNeese game, what does it boil down to? It boiled down to turnovers. It boiled down to some key penalties. And if you could bottle that up, I still say that Southern has a legitimate program. Now, granted, next week I want them to come in on 4 flat tires. I want them to come in on 4 flat tires. We'll talk about that next week. But this, as you say, is going to be an important game. Why? Not because of who Southern is or who Southern is projected to be. It's because of what the Golden Lions present at such a time as this.
Well, they were picked last. They're 3-1. Southern's 1-3. And I look at those non-conference games just as important. Now, I may be in the minority of thinking of that, but it definitely has told us something. And it's told us that internally, Southern has been inconsistent, and that's the way they're playing right now. Those two games, and when you look at the conference, that is a no-brainer. You've got to win your conference. But I think you have to get to a point where you treat, and I'm not saying that they didn't, because they wanted to win the McNeese and the FAMU game, and that's why that FAMU game hurts. You know, it's a renewed rivalry, equal talent, and thus lies the situation. When you play someone of equal talent as you are, you've got to perform. This team has just been inconsistent, and they have underachieved. And I would like, and we got to get ready to go to timeout and go to our guest, our first guest of today's show. It needs to be a point that, and by the way, I love North Carolina A&T. It doesn't matter if it's non-conference or conference. They're coming out to beat people up. They're going to be physical. They're going to tell you what they're going to do, and for the most part, they're going to do it. I love that mentality. And I love Southern University to death, but right now they have underachieved. No, I'm not going to step out on the ledge and jump off. But guess what? You can do better, and you have to do better. That's the bottom line.
And you're not going to get an argument out of me. You're not going to get an argument out of me. I think this conversation becomes more valid after next week. If you're still in that no man's land after next week, say you struggle against Pine Bluff, you struggle against Prairie View, I think it's
all hell will break loose.
Yeah, no, and deservedly so. Deservedly so. It's just like with me, I projected that this time Prairie View would be 1-3 going into the State Fair Classic. People thought I was tripping. Prince, you're a hater. No, I'm not. When you look at it realistically, and I think as fans, they get so emotionally tied to their program, to their team, that everything is either bad as it seemed or everything is good as it seemed. Because if you guys recall, when Prairie View jumped out to that early, fast pace last season, everybody was saying, oh, they're the West champs all right there. I said, y'all, wait a minute. And the reality set in. So I don't think reality has set in from either side just yet. That's just my opinion, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got more games to be played.
True.
If you want to get on the good foot, you better start getting on the good foot.
Ow!
You know, no turning the ball over. Find a way to consistently go down the field, get off to a good start, special teams play. Because once again, you told us this was the most talented team as far as depth wise that you've had. All the ingredients are in place. No excuses.
Okay. Now what if he says they're the worst
no,
team?
let me say this. Also, there are always adversity in a season. How do you respond to it? How will they respond tonight?
And I hear that, Captain Brown. But what if Coach Odoms comes out and says this is the most undisciplined, talented team I've ever coached in all my life. I don't know how the hell we gonna find 6 wins, let alone win the division. What if he says that at the beginning of the season, and then you all be ready to nail him to the cross? Then you'd be like, man, how can you say that about the team? He's supposed to be the leader, the motivator of the team. Even if your team sucks, you're gonna say this is a good group of guys.
I don't speak for myself. I always live in the now. This team's 1-3 now, right? Now, so no matter what way you discuss and say, well, I think it's this, I think it's that, they're 1-3. They've underachieved. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Now, you come out Saturday tonight and you blow UAPB out, or if you get a win.
I'll say at this point, you just want the win. Next week, you just want the win.
They got the win. Good job. Now move on. That's the way I look at it. But let me get a timeout. I got to go to Dwayne Lewis.
We're going to get Dwayne Lewis. But I'm going to make you feel good, man. I'm going to give you some of that Southern swag. How about that? We're going to take you out on some of that Southern swag. Go on, tell them.
They need some swag.
Go on, let them know, man, you're going for a break, and we're going to be right back.
After this timeout, Dwayne Lewis will be on the show discussing that hot UAPB team. And then people want to know, hey, UAPB, this is a big test for you guys tonight. Are you up to the challenge? Dwayne Lewis will tell us whether they're up to the challenge or not. I think they will be. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Be right back. welcome back to this week's edition of the Colors Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. First guest of today's show is Dwayne Lewis of the UAPB Radio Network. Good morning to you, Louisiana native.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, I know you're feeling good, and when I texted you yesterday, I thought about at SWAC Football Media Day, you came by the table, and we were doing the live broadcast, and you tapped on the table and said, watch out for UAPB. And boy, does that ring true? I'm going to tell you. You remember that, Dwayne?
I do. I do recall that. I do. We had a great spring. Coach Thomas done an outstanding job. It all starts with him at the top, has a vision for his program, made some key changes that he felt would benefit the program. And really from the end of the season on with the win last year at Texas Southern, goal line stand to end the season to preserve that win would have been easy for the guys to give in. That broken 8-game losing streak and really set the tone for what he thought we could be in 2019.
So I know you've probably gotten this question a lot so far, but the turnaround at UAPB, really when you look at inside of what has happened so far, 3-1, you contribute the factors to what?
I would say number one, a new strength coach, and Rashad Harris, who came in January, really got us looking like a football team and got us in football shape. Guys really bought into his vision for making us physically stronger in terms of what we need to do. I think secondly was having the guys here for summer session 2 in July, which was the first time in school history football was on campus prior to the typical or traditional August start date for fall camp. So by being able to get here in July, be in school, you're also furthering their education by having to take summer hours, but being able to continue their workouts, meet with coaches, do the 7-on-7. Now when you get to August, you're ready for camp as opposed to Coach Thomas having to coach conditioning. And it doesn't sound like a lot. It's okay, with everyone else coming in a month early and you're coming in a month late, that really makes a big difference when you're not physically ready to play. So it took all of August and September last year for us to get in shape. Third factor, the guys have bought in completely. Mm-hmm. Coach moved more than 20 players off his roster from 2018 that didn't buy in. The guys who stayed have bought in completely, and they're seeing the fruits of all the elements that Coach Thomas has poured into them daily, that we are good enough, we failed enough, we've lost enough, and now it's time to win going forward. And so far, through the first 4 weeks, we've had a really good start.
I'm going to be honest with you, Dwayne. The part you're just telling me now, that's outstanding. Because from the outside looking in, we don't know about all of those integral things. But I first noticed August 31st, TCU, a loss 39-7. But I saw 2 years before that, Jackson State come to TCU and a much bigger defeat. Then Southern University, albeit scored 17 points, they lost to TCU. And so I took notice of that 39-7, but I said, that's interesting. Then I thought about, again, what you had pointed out at SWAC Football Media Day. Then you move to September, Alabama A&M conference game. That, I think, really opened a lot of people's eyes, 52-34 over Alabama A&M. At Alabama A&M, that had to be just a very good moment at that time.
Oh, no doubt. And you referenced the TCU game, and the other X factor I'll say number 4 is Coach Thomas calling the defense. That's how he made his name and his mark at all corners defensive coordinator. And while the guys were running his system last year, he wasn't calling it. The players didn't understand their role within the defense. So he knew at some point last year, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go back to doing it my way and what I believe in. And he calls all the defense. We made a change in staff. We do have a defense coordinator, but he calls all the plays, and the guys now understand why they're doing what they're doing. So that manifested itself in the TCU game where we forced them to kick 6 field goals, including 4 straight drives. They got inside the 25, but we kept them out the end zone. So with only 16 and a half minutes left in that game, when we finally scored, it was 22-7. With 16 and a half minutes to go, it was only 22-7. TCU scored on the next drive and became the final score that you mentioned. But the guys saw, hey, we trust what coach is saying. We can do this. And that carried over to next week at Alabama A&M, where third play of the game, we had a big play, score a touchdown, and we kind of been rolling ever since then. Still some hiccups within that, but the confidence started at TCU defensively and carried over to the offense and not throughout the entire team.
Visiting with Dwayne Lewis of the UAPB Radio Network, discussing much improved University of Arkansas Pine Bluff football team. Now, when you kind of look at the inside, quarterback Shannon Patrick, UAPB employs like a two-quarterback system. Is it fair to say it that way, or two quarterbacks have played a lot so far this season?
It is a true two-quarterback system.
Wow.
Shannon Patrick was the starter last year, broke his finger in the second game of the season, missed the rest of the year. Skylar Perry, the true freshman, started the final 8 games of 2018. Both those guys came back, had great springs, had great fall camp, never really separated from each other. So coach, hey, we're going to start the season, and Skylar's going to start, Shannon's going to play, and every 2 to 3 series, we make a quarterback change. It has worked to perfection from a standpoint that both players genuinely like each other, care for each other, and root for each other. But it also manifests itself in practice where every day a different quarterback leads the one. So if Shannon starts practice on Monday night, then Skylar does it on Tuesday. And then Shannon on Wednesday, Skylar on Thursday. We'd already been doing that prior to the season even started. It just became a carryover, and each guy brings a different thing to the system until the hot hand, if you will, emerges. That happened last week at Tennessee State, where Shannon got the hot hand, led to 3 touchdown drives over the final quarter and a half, including the game winner on the final play. So it is a true quarterback system, a true two-quarterback system. You will see both guys throughout the night.
Interesting. You'll see 4 quarterbacks in this game.
Yeah.
If you get my drift. I'm a firm believer, hey, but whatever works for you, I can respect that. But UAPB employing a 2-quarterback system. Tell me about Mr. Harry Ballard. Outstanding receiver, leads the SWAC in receiving yards, 437 yards. It just seems to be playmakers, and we hadn't even talked about the running backs yet, but explosive players all across the board for UAPB.
Harris definitely emerged as a big play guy for us. A transfer from Missouri has come in to be a part of what we're doing. And talking with Coach Thomas, and when he first met Harry about him coming in, he didn't have to come in to be the man, just come in to be one of the men to help us move this thing forward. And he's done that. He's been a phenomenal teammate. Gives credit to the other receivers because the routes they're running allows him to get some one-on-one things. He has won some double coverage battles, but has been tremendous throughout the spring, throughout the fall. Definitely a big play threat on our offense, but he makes everything else go. And I think Tennessee State had rolled their coverage to his side on the final play last week, which they should, based on he had caught 3 passes on that drive, but it freed up tight end Jeremy Brown, a Ruston native, to make a touchdown catch. So if it's not Harry Ballard, he frees up our entire offense. But certainly the concepts within the passing game with DeJuan Miller, with the Tyron Ralph, with Jeremy Brown. And as you mentioned, we haven't even talked about the running backs yet, but he's the big play guy that takes the top off of our offense.
It's interesting. I'm looking at the roster, and I can tell the coach is he coached at Oklahoma State, because I see Louisiana sprinkled throughout that roster for UAPB. Interesting. That tells you there's a lot of talent in Louisiana
no doubt.
for such a small state population-wise.
True, tremendous talent from the border to the Gulf. A lot of talent in Louisiana, and we definitely have a good flavor and sprinkling of that even with into New Orleans, with Skylar Perry being a New Orleans native. Yeah. Also Tyron Ralph, both those guys from Edmond Carr. So Coach Thomas has beat the bushes, if you will, being able to bring in players from all over.
Well, with that being said, Dwayne, let's kind of get into today's game. Well, as Coach talked about facing this Southern team, I know UAPB is confident, but is it maybe a wounded Jaguar? Could be a dangerous Jaguar? What is he saying about tonight's game?
He knows how great Southern is, not only as a team, but as a program. Has great respect for Coach Odom's, the job he's done, even from several years ago with the APR issues, never wavered in terms of his commitment to how to build a program despite all that. Tremendous respect for Southern. We know they're not coming in here wounded. They're coming in as defending SWAC Western Division champions, one of the great programs in our league and all HBCU football. Tremendous respect for them. We know we're going to get their best shot. First game of conference play, we have to be ready to play for 60 minutes and really match their physicality. That's one of the things he talked about. We know they're going to be a physical team. We have to match that physicality, but also maintain our composure for the entire 60-minute period. They're going to play their best game of the year tonight, and we have to be prepared for that in all three phases.
Well, that would be a good thing. It would be a very competitive game. 6 p.m. tonight in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Crowd-wise, can you expect a packed house?
Should be pretty close. Ticket sales have been brisk, really from the home opener 2 weeks ago, which many from have been around here last 10 years. So that was the largest first game crowd they could remember at any point in the last 7, 8, 9 years. So the community is excited about what the guys are doing. Coach Thomas has really bought into this community from his time as a player back here 20 years ago. Gives UAPB in this community credit for saving his life. We had guys go out to elementary schools on Wednesday and read. We become one with the community, and we expect a great outpouring tonight. Should be close to sold out. For those driving up the jukebox will not be here, but the marching musical machine of the Mid-South M4 will be in the house for UAPB. And it should be a great atmosphere because we know Jaguar Nation is going to be in the house on the east side of the stadium.
If UAPB wins this game, it'll be because of the following. 3 things.
Protecting the football. Got to protect the football. When we protect the football, we've scored a lot of points this year. Protecting the football is going to be key. I think defensively containing the run of the quarterback. You know, Darius Skelton's a Pine Bluff native. He'll be excited about being back in his hometown. We've got to be able to contain him and limit his big plays out of the pocket. And then thirdly, special teams. We've got to be mindful of not losing a possession based on a muff punt. So they got explosive return guys. That special teams factor is going to be really key. I think whoever can win those 3 elements, I think if we can win those 3 elements, that gives UAPB the advantage to win tonight.
Dwayne, it'll be interesting. I won't be in attendance, but I will be listening via the radio. But it is a conference opener for Southern University. I've said it's a must-win. UAPB, some on social media says, well, this is maybe a little bit of a special game because it's defending Western Division champs coming in. This is their first big conference game at home for UAPB. So it has all the ingredients to be a good one. So we appreciate the time coming on today's show and appreciate your insight. Have a great broadcast, and we'll talk real soon.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you, sir. That was Dwayne Lewis, Senior Associate AD, Strategic Communications, and with the UAPB Radio Network. Southern alum, 1995, Southern University. I tell you what, Louisiana, I'll pat ourselves on the back. You know, we just produced. Look at Prairie View. You got Louisiana coaches, natives there that are doing well. Yeah, you know, it's just good. It's just good. We got to pat ourselves on the back sometimes, but we appreciate
Hey,
Dwayne
don't break your arm while you're patting yourself on the back there, fella.
Well, if you don't love yourself, nobody else will.
Well, I guess you got a point there too, man, because, I'm going like, wait a minute, now all this Louisiana, I heard you when you talked about, I'm noticing a lot of Louisiana players on this roster here at Pine Bluff, and this very talented team.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because of the Louisiana connection?
Yeah, I've got the roster pulled up right now. I mean, they're in the car, New Orleans, Western Louisiana. They've got some kids from South Florida. That's pretty good. A team to watch. A team to watch. This one should be a good one. 4 quarterbacks. A 2 quarterback system by UAPB. Southern University right now, Coach Odom says they're going to give Daniels a series or 2. If he's in more than that, then that means it's a struggle. But, Skelton is going home to UAPB, so you would think and that he's going to be fired up to play. And I was talking to a colleague this week, and he thought that Skelton is more of a rhythm quarterback, and so maybe script 10 of the best plays that he was successful with. And if you say last year, again, you know how we talked earlier about teams have schemed Skelton now. They know him. They know of him. Anywhere he goes, they're there. They're trying to get him in the rhythm, maybe some rollouts, some bootlegs. It just seems he's hesitant. And he's not a pocket passer. He seems to be sitting and standing. Look, if you go through your progression and it's not there, and I know he's missed some open receivers, the film has shown that. But sometimes, hey, it's all right to make an explosive play with your legs, especially if nothing is, open, and you got to get out of there. Don't take the sack. But that's another thing. He just doesn't seem comfortable. So it's the coach's job to figure this out. And so maybe they'll have to do some things differently. I'm not going to say scale back the offense, because last year when he came in, that's basically what they did. And again, he was successful, but then he was still an unknown commodity. But he was known very quickly after his start last year. So it's the coach's job to get it done. Find a way.
Now, I hear a lot of people talking about Daniels, but the forgotten man in all this is Lumpkins. Do you go back to him?
You mean Lampley?
I mean Lampley. I'm sorry, I said Lumpkins. Yeah. Do you go back to him?
I tell you what, if they're struggling that bad, and hey, why not give him a shot? Hell, I mean, because remember he was a starting quarterback until Skelton, but he hasn't gotten any reps though. If you think about it, being the third string quarterback.
But he's a third string quarterback once removed from the starter's position, so it's not like he's chopped liver.
No, but he hasn't been getting any reps. Will that affect him? Probably so. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. And then, of course, you got 2-3 other freshman quarterbacks, or 2 other that I'm sure they're going to redshirt him. Because, they could play up until the 4th game, and then after that, hey, you can still, redshirt them. They could play up to 4 games.
Right.
So, the pressure is all on Southern University tonight. The pressure is on the coaches and the players, equally shared. Get it done. People don't want to hear excuses. They don't. They really don't. Get it done. Now, other institutions that, hey, they may feel that, as long as you're playing hard, and if you fall a little short, that's okay. Which if you're playing your best and you fall short, then, hey, you've done your best. But if you're not reaching your potential, you're not playing up to your potential, that's a problem. And I love it. People have been saying, well, wait a minute. You're giving up? The fans shouldn't have a say-so? They shouldn't be allowed to voice their frustration? I think they should.
I'm not saying don't voice your frustration, but don't give up the house just yet.
Nope.
Don't give up the house just yet. Frustration is part of that you care. If there is no frustration, then there's a concern. Well, what's going on? Well, not just Southern Nation, but SWAC Nation. Why are you not concerned that your program is not where it should be? Even if your program has historically lost, you shouldn't have satisfaction knowing that we're historically known as losers. The frustration is, why have we not improved? And I don't care if the budget is not where it's supposed to be. You still need to see some sign of improvement, some sign of fight within the program. I understand all of that, but let's not get the cart before the horse.
Well, the listener says 17, 18 returning starters, no excuses. And he also said, don't want any part of PV anymore, never out of the game. Well, that lets me know you're an Alcorn.
Well, now
follower. And come on, Alcorn fans. Now, come on. And don't cut yourself a little too short there.
Well, Alcorn is a solid team, but here's my frustration. You talking about frustration. My frustration as a Panther fan and supporter, alumni, however you want to identify me, some would even go to say a hater, but you have your choice. It's extremely frustrating knowing that you have an offensive program or an offensive unit that can score with the best of them, but a doggone defense that collapses when you need them to come through the most. Because anytime you're scoring 35, 41 points, you expect a victory. You can't tell me that if you take any coach in the country on any level, he said, I'm going to equip you with an offense that's going to give you 35 to 40 points average per game. And out of 10-game schedule, you would expect to win 7 to 8 of those games simply because you're scoring 35 to 41 points a game. You don't expect to come in 1-3, possibly 1-4, and you're scoring that many points. It's frustrating. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely, man. I'm listening to the game last week. Man, we're up late, and then you go like, oh my God, did we score too early? Did we give them too much time? And lo and behold, there it is. That is frustrating. That is frustrating. And then everybody got their heads in the sand like there is no problem. I think we're not okay. We're giving up. Oh, man, look at the offensive prairie. But look at the defense, what we're giving up. If you're averaging 35 to 41 points a game, you should be 3-1, not 1-3.
Well, defensively has always been the challenge. And last year was special teams play.
No, we don't even talk about that. We don't even talk about that.
Penalties. So I think every program could find something that they could be better at and continue to try to improve it. And you're absolutely right. Boy, you score enough points to win, but my goodness, you've got to win 45 to 42. That's hard.
That is mentally draining. That is mentally draining. You're going like, oh my God, we scored 47 points, but we lost 48 to 47. That is an emotional burnout, and it creates internal problems. I don't care what anyone says, but when you know you're doing your part on your side of the ball, you start looking side eye at the other side. Man, when y'all gonna stop somebody? When y'all gonna stop somebody? You can't tell me that even if you don't say it out loud. I'm about to go scripture on you just for a moment. The scripture says if you think it, you might as well say it. Okay? So when that thought runs into your mind, man, they can't stop nobody. You said it. You just didn't make it verbal.
Well, they'll have an opportunity to try to improve at a little bit after 4 p.m. today.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, but
in the Cotton Bowl State Fair Classic against a Grambling State team that they're looking for a win. They need to win in the worst way.
Right.
It's going to be a tough situation, but defense wins championships. We've always use that cliche. Offense sells tickets.
Right.
So I really think I love to see a team that's balanced offensively and aggressive and very good defensively. And I do agree with that. Defense wins championships. And so if you kind of look and start next week, we'll start pulling up the statistics, the rankings in the conference offense and defense, because now you have quite a few amount of games that you can draw from.
Absolutely.
And look at the statistics, and it'll tell a story as well.
Yeah, but you know what else tells a story, and this is just my opinion. I think that as a conference, we don't spend enough time dealing with special teams. And I'm talking about really just breaking down special teams. If anyone should ever be making sure that their money is going to be right as far as scholarships go, should be a long snapper, a place kicker, and a punter. Those three positions are essential to your team winning and losing, regardless of how many points you're scoring or giving up a game. And more importantly, my frustrating problem is how we fail to execute against the Southland Conference. And you can't tell me that pound for pound, toe to toe, that the Southland Conference is that much more dominant in and over the Southwestern Athletic Conference, even if their styles of play contrast, because for the most part, the SWAC is a finesse conference. But we lose the game with special teams. Huh?
Well, hold up right there. You remember earlier you were saying about they look at that as exhibitions, those type of games. That's an FCS, that's a non-conference. And I'm sure Prairie View fans were upset when they had the lead on Nickel State and they came back and won. I'm sure Alcorn State fans are mad. They shut McNeese out in the second half.
Yes.
But they lost 17-14. Southern fans what I'm saying is the suggestion that these are the games that you should focus on. And I'm not saying that they're not, but they are just as important as conference games.
I never said they were.
No, I'm just saying shame on people who say that, well, you know, and I've had people say, well, they could care less about playing a Southeastern or McNeese. Those games are important. They're on the schedule, for one.
Right.
And then two, you've got to start winning some of those games. Winning the conference, that's a duh moment. That's a given.
Well, you're
right. Let me calm down.
It's all right. Take a sip of that holy water, man.
Oh, I have a question for you.
For me?
Yeah. Mike Prince, did you agree with accepting that third down penalty late, making it 3rd and 15 over 4th and 5th due to your D? That's the Alcorn and Prairie View game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would have to agree with it. Because when you don't trust, and that goes with the confidence that you have in your defense. See, there are statements being made even when you're not verbal. Because if you have confidence in your defense, I would rather have a 4th and 5 anytime if I got confidence that my defense is going to do the job. But what do you say? Let's push them back at 3rd and 15, and then hopefully we could possibly get a pick or a turn, because we know more than likely that's going to be a passing down, right? But if I'm an offensive coordinator going against Prairie View, I get 3rd and 15, and I'm at a certain point of the game, I'm going to run the damn ball again. Why? Because I'm going for it on 4th down anyway, because I know that they're soft in the belly.
Yeah. Well, here's another listener, a Grambling fan. Appreciate it. Frustrated. Man, Grambling, we need to win. We can't score in the red zone. I feel the frustration. I really do.
Yeah.
See, every institution, every football program has something that they need to work on, whether it's Southern, even Alcorn. I heard from Alcorn fans this past week. They feel that they have some things to work on. But I tell you what, defensively, they're solid.
Well, that was just about to say that, man. For me, personally, if I would rather have a strong defense and a solid kicking game than an explosive offense. Because with a strong kicking game or a special teams game and a solid defense, I could position myself and will myself to win some close but ugly ball games. I wouldn't give a flip about high flying, high scoring offensive units, and we can't stop a sixth grade football team. I like what?
I like balance on offense. I've always have that. You run the football, of course. You got to be able to do that. When you get in the man zone, which is what I call it, the field is shrunk. You've got to be able to run the football. So a balanced offense is just so deadly. It's like a boxer. He can take you out with either hand and do it consistently. Defense win championships, and special teams is also important. It's a third of the game. It can win you a few games with big plays. It can lose you some games. So I like the complete total package.
No doubt. That's the ultimate goal, is to have the complete, be clicking on all cylinders, as it's referred to.
But defense wins championships.
Yes, sir.
You're right about that.
Defense is going to win your championships, and your kicking. If you go, I was looking at, I did a little analysis, and penalties kill programs. And I got this little quirky rule. Yeah, they got to have the discipline. Right now, going in today's contest, Prairie View is averaging 54. I mean, not average. They have a total of 54 penalties for 475 yards. And the 475 yards, if you look at it, each 100 yards equals 6 points, right, or a touchdown. So that's 28 points. And if you count 75 yards, that would be a field goal, because technically it would be about a 35-yard field goal, which is pretty much doable. When you look at Prairie View, is averaging 13 penalties a game for 118 yards, which means they're giving up a touchdown. If you go back and you look at what Prairie View has done, they lost by 4 points against Alcorn. Well, how many penalties did you have? You had 12 penalties for 123 yards. You lost by 7 points to McNeese. What did you have? You had 11 penalties for over 100 yards. Those are your touchdowns right there. Even with a struggling defense, even with a non-creative offense, if you're not keeping yourself in the game mentally through self-control, some of these penalties are uncalled for. And I get so tired of fans in particular and coaches blaming the officials for why your team didn't get the break. If the team shows some type of discipline and some self-control and take advantage of the opportunities when it presented, and you're going into situations where the folks are going to be against you at the house and on the field, you don't let them beat you. You beat yourself.
And on that note, I'll end our number one with a listener. Hey, franchise, I think Lampley is the best quarterback on the team. The other two are too inconsistent, and Olins gave up on him too soon. I tell you what, listener, if you have a repeat of the last few games, why not? Give him a chance, even as the third quarterback, who was the first. But I'm sure some will disagree with that. All I'm saying is I wrap up our number one. Fans are frustrated. This Southern football team, you have too much talent to have a record 1-3 right now. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. You got to produce on the field. Now, with that being said, tonight is a chance for a fresh start. Conference opener. You've got to do well. A loss here, you're 1-4, and you're trending in the wrong direction, and the house will get even hotter. If you get my drift, it'll get hot. You gotta love passionate fans. So we shall see. That's it for our number one. When I come back, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. I'll see what he has to say about what happened in the conference last week, the schedule this week, and get his take on Prairie View and Grambling State and this Southern football team and their game against UAPB. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. and Spreaker.com.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Come on, hustle. Get your head in the game. Come on.
Are you setting the right example for your kids?
You need to get some confidence.
Before your child's next game, ask yourself, how would you like it if they copied your behavior?
Ad revenue has declined 15%.
Come on. You need to get some confidence.
Positive Coaching Alliance has valuable tips and tools to help our kids perform their best while keeping sports enjoyable for everyone. Positive Coaching Alliance. Creating better athletes, better people.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a 1-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
Come on.
Laptops, MP3 players, cameras, video games, cell phones. In times like these, schools can become a shopping mall for thieves. Don't become a victim of crime. Leave your valuable stuff at home, and if you do have to bring them to school, keep them with you. Write down their serial numbers, and don't flash expensive items around. Be smart. If you have something cool, there's a good chance someone else will want it too. Keep cash and ATM cards in a secure place, and never give anyone your PIN number. And don't leave your school bag lying around where it can become a temptation to someone else. If you have something stolen, report the situation immediately. The sooner you tell someone, the better the chance you'll get it back. Visit ncpc.org to learn more about how to prevent school theft. That's ncpc.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. It's hour number 2, and as always, we will speak now with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you on this September the 28th.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Well, you really want to know? The Jaguar Nation is up in the uproar. and we've got people that are saying, well, just calm down. You know the Jaguar Nation.
Oh,
you know me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be hot as fish grease. But there's still football left to be played in the season.
Exactly.
So with that being said, I kind of, we'll recap conference games from last week, and we'll look at this week's schedule. But I do want your take on this Southern University season so far. What say you, Charles, about this team so far?
Well, based on what I've been told and what I've heard and what I've read, that Southern right now offensively, it's a slog, it's a struggle. Skelton is not developed at the pace and the speed the way that a lot of folks thought. Last year he kind of broke away from that quarterback competition. Of course, Southern played in the championship game and all that. And obviously it's been a struggle for Dawson Odoms trying to find some continuity with Skelton. I don't know if it's the scheme. I don't know if it's Skelton. We don't know. But you would know a little bit more than me on that one. But I think for me, and I've just never been, I wouldn't say never, but in today's college football, having two quarterbacks just doesn't cut it now. And I think if Skelton's going to be your quarterback, and if that's the issue, then you've got to understand it's going to be a tough deal at times. And I think the only way he's going to grow and develop is, he's going to make mistakes, and you have to live with those. But he's going to grow up, you hope. And at this point in time, I think, Southern defensively, their defense is being put in tough spots because offensively it's been a struggle. And I think Florida A&M was a classic example. Southern with a good second half, but they dug themselves too big of a hole in the first half. So I would say for Southern right now, I think offensively, I don't know if they need to change some schemes or just run the football more and make Skelton comfortable, kind of what the Braves did with Felix Harper last week in making him comfortable early against Prairie View, even though the Panthers kind of handed it to us in terms of turnovers and points. But I think you have to get a quarterback comfortable early. And I think for Skelton too, Carlos, I think you know this better than me. If I'm not mistaken, has he played just the number of games that he has played? Has it been a full season? 11, 12 games?
Let's see, 1-3 now, and he hasn't played a full game yet this season. They've pulled him, and then he was 5-1 last year. So, nope, right at 10 games?
Yeah. So I still think that, when you're looking at a young quarterback, I still think it's early. And I think just the great success that Southern had last year, especially down the stretch, I think has a lot of people thinking that, Skelton's a guy and he's gotten us over the hump. Well, he's still learning. And if you have a guy like a Noah Johnson, a John Gibbs, or a Norris Footman that were broken in, prior to their times, but I think Skelton was thrown out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's just the way the nature of the game works. So I would just say that I think it's still a little early. I think for Southern University, I know it's panic time, and Southern's got a tough one with UAPB today. There's a lot of emotion there. Skelton coming home, he's from Pine Bluff. I compare this game with Southern compared to what they did last year with Prairie View.
I knew you was going to say that.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
You know what, Charles? You know what? I love you, man. You my homeboy and all, man. But you're going to have to put some respect on my Panthers, man.
Just step back and think about it now. We're laughing about it, but step back and think about it. This time last year, Prairie View was scoring 1 million points. And you look at what UAPB's doing this season, with the exception of maybe the first game, they're scoring 1 million points. Now, who's to say that's gonna continue? But I compare that to what happened last year. Look at what UAPB's done the last 3 games. They're scoring almost 40 a game the last 3 games. Kind of what Prairie View did last year. Now, I will say that this moment is probably a little too big for UAPB right now. If they don't, and I think Cedric Thomas is the kind of coach that'll say, look, guys, don't be smelling yourselves now. I mean, we ain't done anything yet. And I know him because he was here. I know how he is. But I think for Southern, the SWAC time, I do think Skelton will improve, but I do think the pressure on him may be a little bit premature right now. And I think yanking him in and out of the lineup is not going to help either. I think if he's your guy, then he's your guy. Unless he's hurt, unless he just can't do it. And I think we all know that he can do it because we've seen him do it. I just think you just have to let him, deal with the bumps and the lumps and the ups and downs and stick and stay with him. Well,
I agree with most of that. I say you would stick with Skelton. Growing pains is the term you kind of use, and just being more consistent. And then I look at, there's a shared responsibility. I'm still trying to figure out Coach Berry, the offensive coordinator, and what he's trying to do. What is Southern's identity on offense? RPO. They run the football. But I'd like to see, I'll say this, they've got to improve the passing because I think teams have figured it out. You talked about last year. He came on the scene in that particular game, the 138-0. And then the next week, Texas Southern kind of had they had seen him the week before. All I have to say this, teams, again, they're going to say, we're going to load up the box on you, and we're going to see if you can beat us throwing the ball and with your decision-making. And if you can do that, they'll live with that. But they're not going to let him, from an athletic standpoint and explosive plays, they're not going to let him do that. And now I think it is imperative that the coaching staff counter the adjustments that teams have made to Southern University offense. Just my humble 2.5 cents.
Well, I'm looking at the stats, Carlos. Southern's 4th in the league in rushing, averaging 186 yards a game, averaging 4.6 yards per carry. That's better than Alcorn right now. And so I would say that the numbers dictate, and they say numbers don't lie. The numbers dictate clearly right now that Southern's bread and butter is running the football, where in years past that had been a struggle because you had a quarterback that can get it done, slinging the ball all over the place. It's not the case now, at least at this moment in time.
What are they passing?
Yeah, in terms of passing the football. Southern right now is productive running the football. So maybe,
no, but I'm saying, what are they in passing?
Passing, they are, I think, 7th or 8th. Let me see here. 9th in the league in passing.
Wow. So, to me, that means they're 4th in running the football. Hell, they've got to be number 1.
Yeah.
Because to offset the pass. That's what I'm saying. Back to being balanced. Southern can do better, and they should do better with that. I'm just big on being balanced on offense.
They're averaging 149 yards passing the football. And the days of these RPOs in which you can do a little bit of both right now, I mean, from what I can see statistically, Southern right now is better running the football than they are passing. And if you can run the football, it makes your quarterback, it makes Skelton or whomever that much more comfortable. So I would say that Southern has to run the football first, get that going, get Skelton comfortable, and then that opens up a whole nother lane of avenues for you.
I guess the days of, I'm accustomed to seeing a balanced offense. And when you thought about Southern University, you thought about could always throw it, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's switched. It's now, at this rate, they still have to be able to pass to win because teams are going to line up. If you can run and 8 people are in the box, and you still can run for almost 170 yards a game, that would be outstanding. But I think against the better defensive teams in this conference, that is not going to be a good recipe. But I could be wrong. They could prove me wrong. They've got to get the passing going, and I do believe that they're going to have to put Skelton in a position where he gets in the rhythm, and he does. Give him some plays where he gets comfortable. And not that I'm harping on Alcorn. Look what Felix Harper did. Threw for 280 yards. He's probably played a little bit, right?
Hold on. Time out.
No. He threw for 280 yards last week, right?
But listen, franchise. Listen, Linda.
He did well.
He did well. But I'm gonna tell you something that you're missing. You set the pass up with an effective run game. If you got people playing in the box, what are they thinking? Run, aggressive. But that means you have to stick with the run to set up the play action, and that's why your tight end becomes a struggling quarterback's best friend. It becomes his best friend because with the play action, what's going to happen? It's going to leave one-on-one coverage or isolation by himself, because everybody's overcommitted to stopping the run. And if that's your MO, I tell you, when I think of Alcorn, when I think of Southern, I think run first. And if I'm focused as a defensive coordinator that they're not going to beat us on the run, and I'm putting 7-8 people in the box, I'm leaving one-on-one coverage. But you can't go in there wanting to pass. You got to get them so infused that they're going to be attack, because why? You're running. The run sets up the pass.
I'm scheming Southern just like everybody's done right now. If I'm defense coordinator, I dare you're not going to run the football. Can you beat me passing? If you're not running the football, then you have to pass, or you'll see the anemic numbers that you see passing right now.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to stick with what your identity is. You talked about identity earlier, and Charles just brought up that they're number 4 in the conference in rushing. But when you listen and watch the games, they're dropping back trying to pass. Get out of that RPO garbage. I call it all garbage. I don't like that spread stuff. Play some football, play action, and move methodically down the field.
And what happened last week when the Braves played Prairie View, we against McNeese 2 weeks ago, we averaged, I think, 3.3 yards per rushing attempt. We really couldn't run the football effectively. And even against Prairie View, we averaged about 3 yards per carry. The Panthers did a nice job in really avoiding big runs from the Braves running attack. Now, granted, Waller was not 100%. He only played, I think he only had 2 rushes last week. He was banged up. So we had to go with our second and third string running backs in the game last week, but we weren't able to run the ball as effectively. But Felix Harper made plays down the field with his feet, moved the pocket a little bit and made him comfortable, and I think that helped a lot. Felix was really the story in terms of keeping plays alive because Prairie View had him dead to rights. They had 4 sacks in the game. So I think, for teams right now, I think for Southern, in years past, we talk about the Eric Randalls of the world. You talk about the Austin Howards, the Quinn, slinging it all over the place. I think this year, Southern has had more of an effect, at least at this point, running game. And I think you have to start with that and then just kind of build your game plan from there as you go. If Southern can run the football, keep that high-powered UAPB offense off the field, I think Southern will have a chance if they can slow the game down just a little bit. I think the Jaguars will have a chance. But I think it's just a different dynamic with Southern, and every year is different. Every year is different. Every team is different, and I think it's okay. It's okay that you have different type of personnel, different schemes. In years past, Southern has flung it all over the yard. This year, it may be running the football, might be their foundation maker. And that's okay. If that's what it means to make Skelton comfortable, I think the Jaguar Nation fans will love it if they get points and wins at the end of the night.
Well, I'm loving this. Boy, people are commenting left and right. Let me read a couple of them. Southern cannot win being ninth in passing through the league. Our numbers right now are skewed, if you include Memphis and Edward Waters. Really, we should only look at the McNeese and FAMU stats. And then finally someone says, I'm confused. They're running the ball well, The passing game is not complementing Southern's running game. That is the problem. Again, personally, I just like a balanced offense. But Alcorn was able to they stopped the explosive plays, run the football, but they were able to adjust, and still he threw for 280 yards, Charles. That's still that's good. That's being able to adjust. If someone takes away what you do, can you adjust? Not after the game, during the game. Can you get it done? What happens if you just can't get done what you are known for to do?
Then you're in trouble, and you're in big trouble. And I think what happened with the Braves. Remember that game featured 11 lead changes last week. I didn't know that till after the game, like a basketball game. 11 lead changes. We were down 10, and we had to throw the football in a sense because number one, we couldn't run it as effectively, and you got to give Prairie View credit for that. So we had to throw the football down the field to be able to move the chains and quickly get points because Prairie View, they had 508 yards of offense last week with 4 turnovers. I mean, that's it. And, I know we're going to preview these other games, but, and I'll say this, and I know people are going to probably think I'm crazy, but the Braves saw the best and the worst of what the conference has to offer last week. The Panthers are the best offensive team in the conference by far. But I think they're the worst defensive team in the league. Jay Walker said it, and I see it by far. For us to be able to do what we did, and the Panthers helped us with 4 turnovers, especially one late in the second quarter that really stopped their momentum. We saw the best and the worst of it, as far as conference teams. And I just think, going forward, it's going to be interesting to see how the Braves deal with the rest of the conference, especially on the defensive side. Valley's a little bit better defensively than Prairie View, and so we'll see how it turns out here today.
Well, let's do this. We've spent enough time on Southern, and we got to still get your comments on Grambling and Prairie View coming up. But last week's results, Samford all over Alabama A&M, 55-21. Alabama A&M, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
1 week they're up, 1 week they're down. Alabama State, over Grambling State 23-20. I don't know if you guys saw this, but on social media, I'm assuming on Twitter, I saw this. I'm going to say as a Grambling fan, he was letting the players have it coming off the field. There's no place for that. And it got ugly. With Grambling State, not a win on the season, they dropped one to Alabama State, and now all of a sudden you're hearing a lot of people saying, hey, watch out for Alabama State. Alcorn, of course, over Prairie View A&M 45-41. Bethune-Cookman over Mississippi Valley State 22-6. FAMU over Southern 27-21. And UAPV with 4 seconds left, last play of the game, they defeat Tennessee State 37-31. Charles, Grambling State, they're looking for a win in the worst way.
Yep, they are, and it's kind of surprising, but it's kind of not surprising. I think Grambling's defense is good enough. I mean, you hold Louisiana Tech, 20 points. You hold Bama State on the road, 23 points. I mean, that's good enough to win most cases. I think Grambling's offense right now is the problem. The second year minus Kincaid, I think Hickenbotham still has a lot to learn. And I think what Coach Fobbs is saying, his team right now is not mentally tough to be able to deal with some of the issues that they're having right now. And, it's going to be another big headache today, the way Prairie View's scoring points. Grambling's defense is going to have to create turnovers like the Braves did last week if Grambling's going to have a chance. But Grambling right now offensively is definitely a struggle. There's no Kincaid, Carter, or Chad Williams walking through that door. They're going to have to figure out a way offensively to be more consistent and move the chains and be more productive offensively. I think that's the problem with Grambling right now.
Well, another team with offensive struggles, huh?
Yeah.
Defense.
And it's kind of not surprising either, though, Carlos, I have to say. I mean, when you've had the talent that they've had going back the last 3-4 years, like I said, the Kincaids, the Carters, the Chad Williams of the world, when you've had those individual talent and they were special talent, and then they're gone, it's going to take a little bit of time to rebuild that. And I think Grambling's going through those pains right now, offensively.
Well, they've got a big one today, and we'll get your thoughts on that quickly. How do you see the big classic going on in Dallas? I would think social media is probably going to say Prairie View all of the way. What say you, Charles?
I'm going to go with Grambling because I do think Prairie View's going to have a little bit of a hangover from the Alcorn game. I think Grambling's defense will slow down that high-powered Prairie View attack just enough to where I think Grambling will be able to grind out a win. I do have Grambling winning the game, but if Prairie View starts, slinging it all over the place and doing what they did last week and scoring, I mean, they scored 17 points in like 2 minutes in the second quarter. We're up 17-0, and just like that, it was gone. And if Prairie View starts out like that against a Grambling team that struggles, it's going to be a long day for Grambling. But I do think Grambling's defense will keep Prairie View in check enough. I do have Grambling winning the game.
Wow, I guess I didn't expect that, but that your prediction on that one. But early in the week, even 2 days ago, I'm like, I think Grambling State will get it done. Thinking about last year, some would say there was the downfall after beating Grambling in the Classic. That's a tough one. I'm gonna go with PV. Up until a couple of days ago, I was going Grambling, but I'm gonna switch and go with PV. Don't let me down, Prairie View. Never saw a touchdown they didn't like or a field goal. Cut down on the penalties and muster up some defense. Maybe at one point they were leading the conference in sacks.
Yeah.
They're going to count on that, but I'm gonna go with Prairie View. Central State at Alabama A&M, Gulf Coast Classic. Charles, this one on paper you would say Alabama A&M, but Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as far as that team. But I think Alabama A&M will win this one. I
have
Alabama
4 words for you. I have no idea.
Excuse me, that's dangerous. I'm all choked up on that one.
I have no idea. I don't know what to expect from Alabama A&M from 1 week to the next, from 1 second to the next, to be honest with you. I asked Coach Maynard this week about that, by the way, on the coach's call, and he's still trying to figure out why his team just can't be consistent. I would if I had to predict, I would go with Central State, and again, Alabama A&M's at home, correct?
Well, it's in Mobile, right?
I was at Mobile. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go with Alabama A&M on that one. If the game were in Huntsville, I'd probably go with Central State because A&M just doesn't play well at home. Period.
Wow.
And it's been the case over the last several years, regardless of who the head coach. They just don't get up at home. This game is on the road. It's a classic game. I think Alabama A&M, they should win the game. I think, and I will predict that Alabama A&M will win this game. I might be wrong because you don't know which A&M team is going to show up. But
I'm all choked up on this one, Charles.
Yeah, it's kind of a head scratcher in a sense. But again, when you have a team that hasn't won and you're learning how to win, you're going to have those ups and downs. But games that you expect them to lose, they win. Games that you expect them to win, they lose. So I expect them to win this game. It's in state. It's in Mobile, and I think they're better than Central State. I have Alabama A&M.
Oh, yeah. They're a dangerous team, but sometimes, not in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, you discussed Grambling State and Prairie View, and them Jackson State and Kentucky State in Indianapolis. Jackson State, last time out with a win. Here's another game that they're going to be favored. They're the better team talent-wise. They're more physical. Why wonder about Ponder? He's still the guy. But I tell you, you talk to Jackson State fans, they still waiting for the anointed one, Mr. Jones, to just come in on a white horse and take it. I know I use White Horse and take over that football program. They'll win this one. I think their biggest opponent will be themselves in this one. If they want to take care of this game early and show them who's in charge, Jackson State should win this one. I say should. I picked them to win.
Jackson State leads the league in offense, and that's an interesting thought. But they're not as great defensively though. They're 8th in defense, which last
year. That's shocking.
Yeah, that is shocking. The last couple of years, they've been a top-tier defensive team. And again, it just shows you from year to year things change. If Jackson State keeps this pace going, I think they'll be in contention for the East. I'm with you. I think Jackson State, playing the Circle, the Circle City used to be one of the great classics. Not saying it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be an honor to play in the Circle City, and I think it still is. The game's kind of lost a little bit of its steam, just a little bit. But I think for Jackson State, they should win this game, coming off a score, 49 against Tennessee State. I know it's some distractions and some other stuff off the field. Let's hope that gets settled and dealt with because people are talking about that. But I think that for Jackson State on paper, I think if Ponder continues to develop, he's the guy. He has the hot hand. You got to stay with the hot hand. And I do think Jackson State will win this game today against Kentucky State.
Well, it's interesting. 8 returning starters in the conference at quarterback, and you still got teams playing 2 quarterbacks by choice, some by necessity. Jackson State quarterback situation, they want Jones. Ponder let me just move on. It's just interesting. You wouldn't expect all this drama with quarterbacks, with 8 of the 10 stars coming back in. It's unbelievable. Got 2. Got to move quickly. Southern at UAPB. Charles, who you got?
I have Southern. Like we said at the top, I think this game might be big, might be a little too big for UAPB right now. I think it's the conference opener. Obviously, UAPB is riding a hot hand offensively, but I think the Jaguars will go up there, and I think they'll slow the game down. And I think if they can get off to a fast start, I think they'll win the game going away. However, UAPB is playing with a lot of confidence, and I know Cedric Thomas is going to keep them in the moment. And if the Jaguars play around with it, UAPB is going to win that game. But if I were to bet some money on it, I think the Jaguars are the better team. UAPB is up and coming. Are they there yet? No. Are they getting there quickly? Yes. But in this game, in this moment, on this day, I do have Southern to win. And if the Jaguars don't win this game, and as you've texted, as I'm sure the Jaguar Nation is listening, they're going to be boiling if they don't win this game. But I do think Southern will win. I love Cedric Thomas, I really do. But I think this game, I think the Jaguars are the better team, especially throwing the football. I think Southern will win it.
Skelton going home. I think he'll play the best game of the season. Don't let me down. Big game. UAPB is a up and coming team. They've proven so far that they belong. I like Southern though in a close one, but I will say this: another horrible start like the one last week against FAMU, it could get away from them. But I think it's going to be a win by Southern, but I think it's going to be a close win. But I'm going with Southern in this ball game. And if not, the house will be on fire, literally. Texas Southern at Houston Baptist, not traveling out of the city. The last chance for a SWAC team to defeat a Southland team, if I'm not mistaken. Texas Southern defensively have given up a lot of points. Wow. Offensively, they have been shown to be able to score points. My heart says go with Texas Southern. My mind says Houston Baptist. Not that Houston Baptist is all of that. Will it be a baptism by Houston Baptist? or will Texas Southern come in and take care of business? I'm going to go with Houston Baptist in this one, but I'm pulling for Texas Southern. But I think Houston Baptist will win.
Yeah, TSU's last in the league in defense, Carlos.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm not, I met Coach McKinney at SWAC Media Day, very quiet guy. You kind of see him on the sidelines, kind of the same way. I'm not expecting a whole lot from Texas Southern this year because you have a first-year coach of a new program, basically. So you can't expect a whole heck of a lot, and I'm sticking with that. I think Houston Baptist all the way. I mean, there's not really much you could say, with that game. Once you get in the conference and the meat of it, Texas Southern will probably improve a little bit. But this is, even though it's in town, like you said, Southland Conference, Houston Baptist, period.
Wow. At least I said I'm pulling for Texas Southern. Charles says Houston Baptist, and you got to win these conference games, or non-conference games, excuse me, and got to get to the point that you start, when you're playing these games, have some success. It's just the right thing to do. Well, Charles, appreciate the time. Have an outstanding broadcast. I'll dip in a little bit, and you tell Mr. Dean Barnes, boy, I kind of miss him. I know home games, he's the PA announcer, so I get a chance to hear him when you guys are on the road. But great production, great broadcast crew. I enjoy listening when I can to Alcorn State football games, and I will, contrary to some rumors that are being started, I'm going to be in Lorman one way or the other, October 26th. I'm not scared.
I was just about to ask that, Carlos. I need to call the chief of police and get your caravan to get you in and off campus.
Oh no, that still is a possibility there. But yeah, it's a great atmosphere, and even if the season goes south, which it better not, you can expect a good contingent of fans to come to Lorman. So for the Alcorn fans that talk to me regular, they're pulling for Southern. You know what? They want Southern there. I know why. Because they've been so successful.
Yeah.
But hopefully a Southern team that will be much, much better and playing better. And it starts tonight against UAPB. But appreciate the time, Charles. And once again, we'll talk next week. Have a great broadcast.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
All righty. We'll take a quick time out. We seem to always get Brandon B.J. Jones right at 11:45. It's at 11:30. So do I need to move him up a little bit? But I will give him the remaining time on the show. We'll get his take on what's going on, of course. He's a Southern alum. Picked up a listener that's a Southern alum. I appreciate that person listening right now. Appreciate everyone. Coming up next, Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day, talking black college football, SWAC, and I'll ask him once again, North Carolina A&T. If I had to be in a alley and I needed backup, I would have no question with North Carolina A&T. What a physical, nasty attitude they have. They beat people up. They don't play around. Great defense, and they run the football. Brandon B.J. Jones coming up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit divafeet.com. That's DIVAH feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a 1-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show. And Dr. Prince threat will not be taken kindly. Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network at Spreaker.com.
What threats are you talking about, brother? What are you talking about, Carlos?
You know, that's a little behind-the-scenes joke.
Who, me?
I did pick Prairie View to beat Grambling State, but my next guest may have a different attitude about everything. I trust this guy to give it to us plain and straightforward. Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. Brandon, good morning, sir.
Remember what I said.
Good morning, Carlos.
Remember what I said, B.J.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. You recovered from that Tallahassee trip?
Man, I have. I came back from Tallahassee and got a little bit under the weather, so my voice just came back the last few days. So I'm back full swing now.
Yeah, that happened to me once at Jackson State, and I swear to this day, a virus was put in that press box. But that's all I'm gonna say about that. And it took me about a week to get well. But I've been to Tallahassee a couple of times, and it was an electric atmosphere. The game didn't start out the way I thought it should, and at the end of the day, FAMU defeated Southern University 27-21. What was your whole thought process being in Tallahassee for that game, and your thoughts afterwards?
First thing that ran through my mind was it was great to see Southern and FAMU meet again. And you can tell just by the interaction from the fans that this is something that both sets of fans wish would go back to happening annually.
I would agree.
It's just something about it that just, I can't explain it, but it just feels right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just feels right. But getting down to the ball game, FAMU is an electric place. It's a hard place to go win. That ball club has not lost a home game in almost 2 years. And, you know, that atmosphere, you kind of see why. The FAMU, they did a good job of explaining to the kids what this rivalry meant. I'm not sure, and I'm not sold on if the kids from Southern actually knew what they were getting into and what this rivalry actually means for a lot of people. I think that they approached this game just like any other non-conference game, and I think once we were down, and the FAMU crowd was in it. I think that it hit them then that this was just not another game. And man, that slow start, it hampered us, man. But you got to give Southern credit for fighting back and getting back in it. But at the end of the day, you cannot give up a 97-yard drive to cost you a game. That's never acceptable.
Yeah, and the first play, that would have passed maybe 35, 40 yards.
Yeah, that was a 47-yard pass from the end zone.
But we've been discussing on the show. I've been discussing what some of the things that I've observed, and just kind of quickly see what you think. Yeah, they fought hard, but this offense has just been erratic. Skeleton, erratic. I'm trying to understand what's their identity on offense. They've become one-dimensional, and if they can't run the football, and teams are scheming them, I think, the right way. You make Southern and Skelton defeat you throwing the ball and decision-making. And they're just erratic right now. Can they change it? Can they get better? Yes, but they've underachieved at this point. Just my opinion. You may think differently.
No, I agree. 100%, man. This offense, quite frankly, has been offensive. The passing game has been inconsistent, and if you want to be honest, the running game hasn't exactly been consistent. What was the last time Southern had a 100-yard rusher that was not named Ladarius Skelton?
But that was Edward Waters, so throw that out.
Yeah. So, it was, and it was Ben again in the Bayou Classic.
Yeah.
Where's the running going to come from? A lot of people have criticized play calling, and if that's what you would like to do, go ahead. If you have a quarterback that's struggling as a wide receiver, when the ball gets to you, you have to catch it. There were 4 critical drops last week in Tallahassee. 2 of them would have changed the entire complexity of the ball game. It's been all the way around, from not being able to run, not being able to pass, and at times not being able to catch the football. So there's a lot of things. Yes, that responsibility and that blame falls on a lot of shoulders. I know that Chennis Berry, the offensive coordinator, is an easy target. All right, but
I've thrown a few darts at him. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, but he doesn't drop passes. And you have to, whatever he dials up, you don't know if, I always tell people from the outside looking in, you don't know, did he dial up the right thing and the quarterback just not see it and decide to go somewhere else? So it's so difficult to tell when you start talking about offenses, especially if you're on the outside looking in.
Well, let me ask you this then. I don't want to, because I know time is short. If you have the same kind of output tonight, then when as a staff do you decide to, are you going to just go with a 2-quarterback system, or are you going to go with 1 quarterback and then live or die with that? Because then at this point, the season doesn't go backward, it's going forward. And what do you do if you're Southern coaches?
I had a change of heart about the 2-quarterback system this week. I saw Ladarius Skelton and Bubba McDaniel on Instagram Live, and just seeing the relationship that those 2 have with each other. I feel like if you could get it rolling with 2, roll with 2. Ideally, you want it with 1, but if you can get it done with 2, get it done with 2. And the reason I say that, both of them bring a different skill set. Bubba McDaniel is an amazing passer. He's a little bit more advanced in his vision in the passing game. Ladarius Skelton has what he does in the passing game. You're taught as a defender to watch the stripe of the quarterback's helmet. If that strike turns to one side and it never goes back to the other side, you know early in the ball game that when he turns that way, that's where the ball's going. And a lot of defenders have adjusted to that with Ladarius Skelton. You can't adjust with that with Bubba McDaniel because he has the ability to look people off. Now, where Ladarius Skelton is dangerous at, it's with his feet. Bubba McDaniel is sneaky athletic. You don't think about him as a runner, but he can run. So I think with those two, with the skill sets they bring, I think if you needed to use a 2-quarterback system, I think it would work in a situation like this.
Well, I'll call you Coach Jones. I didn't really know, but really, Coach, UAPB is going to play 2 quarterbacks. So,
yep.
Brandon B.J. Jones says he wouldn't have a problem with Southern playing 2 quarterbacks. But I get to understand what you're saying. At this point now, that may be the best option. There, I would say bring Lampley in if all else fails. But then you're really talking about a quarterback controversy, which I don't really think there is.
Right. And I think before you see Lampley, I think you might see Harold Blood, the young freshman from Destrehan.
They are the future, and the young man from 3 champ in Georgia, Cedar, I think Grove, Boney.
Yeah,
but that's down the line. But the future looks bright, but they've got to improve from a freshman to a senior.
Exactly.
And so we'll leave it at that. Got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Quickly, Grambling and Prairie View, the other huge matchup in SWAC Conference.
Hey, look, Mike Prince has already told me, I like Prairie View in this one. I think Prairie View gets it done for the second year in a row over Grambling. But I think it might be kind of closer than what people expect. A lot of people are expecting Prairie View to show up at the Cotton Bowl and just boat race Grambling. And I don't think that's going to happen. But I do like Prairie View to win the ball game. And if Prairie View wins this one and Grambling starts 0-4, there's going to be some interesting talk up in North Louisiana the rest of the way.
Grambling, they already talking. Baton Rouge, they're just hot. They're just pissed. They're frustrated. I can understand that. North Carolina A&T, they're just nasty. They're physical. They beat people up.
Man,
got a chance to see them Thursday night. They're tough.
Man, this is the thing about North Carolina A&T. They replace 9 starters on the defensive side of the football. And people say, well, they're going to take a step back. They replace most of the offensive line. People say, oh, they're going to take a step back, replace the starting quarterback. And then you start seeing plays being made, and you go look at the roster, and you see freshmen, sophomore, redshirt freshmen, and you start to think, so when does this thing finally end?
They literally reload.
Yeah. And it is scary what they got going up there in Greensboro.
They run the football, and Sam Washington, my best friend in the world, loves him to death. Sam Washington, I got to get him on this show. Maybe it'll be after the season, but he has just continued the legacy at North Carolina A&T. They are tough. Your top 5 in black college football. This is always interesting. I'm really getting into it now.
Oh, man, they created some controversy earlier this week, Top 5 Tuesday.
Brandon, controversy? I don't believe
it. Yeah, created some, the smoke people were not happy with me.
Get in line. They already after me.
But in the 5 spot, I got Alcorn State. I got them back into the top 5 after what they did against Prairie View a week ago. In the 4 spot, I have Bethune-Cookman. In the 3 spot, believe it or not, I have Arkansas Pine Bluff. I like the way they just find a way to win. In the 2 spot, I have the South Carolina State Bulldogs. You talk about defenses. I encourage you, if you like defense and hard hitting, check out that Bulldog football team. And in the number 1 spot is North Carolina A&T. What they're doing is amazing. North Carolina A&T gave up 0 points and 100 total yards on Thursday night. Just think about that. 0 points and 100 total yards. They're the number one team in black college football right now.
And their quarterback manages the game. He almost has a linebacker or something, the seat, but he manages the game. He does. They're just solid. They're just solid. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say about A&T.
And those running backs, I knew Jermaine Martin was a kid that was going to get a look from the NFL. And I was like, so what is Jermaine Martin? He's about 200 pounds? And they saying that now Jermaine Martin is around closer to 225 to 230. And you see in the way that he moves and the yardage that he puts up, and then they put the young freshman in there, number 25, and he runs with it. This team, man, you're going to have to catch North Carolina A&T on an off day. But they got some battles coming up. It's going to be interesting to see them going to Tallahassee and them going to Orangeburg later on this year.
Well, we'll be watching it. Brandon, have a great weekend. We'll schedule to talk with you next Saturday. We definitely got to get you at 11:30. Going to give you a little more time. But as always, continue the great work. Appreciate you. And we'll talk with you next Saturday.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Carlos.
All right. Want to thank Dwayne Lewis of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Charles Edmond and Brandon B.J. Jones, and Brother Michael Prince, the enforcer, is what I'll call him now. After that backhanded twisted arms with Brandon. Shame on you. And your last name's Prince? You wasn't a prince for those few minutes, but I understand.
Prince of Pain, baby. Prince of Pain.
Prince of Pain. And everyone who listened in for the first time, the second, or who listens in all the time, I really appreciate you. Have a great weekend, everyone. Make sure you tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until that time, as always, peace and God bless.